Good morning and welcome to the latest in our In Conversation With series. This is where I shine the spotlight on different entrepreneurs, business leaders, and talk to them about their journey, why they do what they do, and how the lessons they've learned along the way. Now, I think this is my 25th interview. So we've got just so many brilliant stories. So many that's on our In Conversation With channel on our website. Now, this morning I am going to be joined by Gee Foottit. Here she is. That's what I call perfect timing.
Good morning.
all I've done is just sort of, Twitter on a bit about, what our In Conversation With series is about, all about shining the spotlight on people like you. So, Gee, you're the Academy Engagement Manager at St James's Place. Haven't stolen any of your thunder, so that's nothing else that anybody is going to know about you. But it's such a pleasure to have you. Can I just say before I fire off questions and basically hand the microphone over to you and hand the spotlight, is that we've worked with St James's Place in lots of different ways in the last few years. You've been big supporters of our Back to Business programme. And we love what you do with your academy, and we think there's something really special and unique about it. And you've helped so many women, in particular, to take that next step, that transition, which is so important. So it's a real pleasure to have you with us. And I know we've tried to schedule this several times in the past. So you're a busy lady. So thank you very much for taking a few minutes out of your busy calendar just to chat to us and our viewers. We've got various people are going to come on. They're going to be asked to ask you questions as well. So I'd ask anyone that's here, this is a great opportunity to slightly sort of go under the radar, ask Gee any question you want to. This is your chance to find out about financial services, running a business, what the Academy is all about. We want to make this as broad as possible. But let's let's start with you, Gee Foottit. I know you've been in financial services for 20 years. Sounds like an awful long time to me. Tell us, who are you? What's your journey? How do you come to be here in the first place?
Thanks, Sarah, so much for the introduction. And it's great to be here. And of your 25 interviews today, I think you probably have the most technical issues today with mine. Apologies for that.
I wasn't going to mention that.
We got there in the end, the most important thing. So a bit of background about me. Yeah, I have been in financial services for over 20 years. That does sound like a long time. Obviously, I started working when I was 2 and I didn't bother going to school. I didn't do that. I didn't go to university, so I started working at 18. And how I got into it in the first place, when I was at school, I had a teacher at school, and you go and do work experience off into the wide world. And I always had an eye on the city, and I think my group of friends did. We were always keen to start earning some money and get on that short journey, tube journey into the city. So I had my work experience within a financial advisory firm, one of the teachers in my school's husband's business. And that went really well, and they offered me a job when I finished my A-levels. So for me, it was an easy step in because I'd had that experience and that connection with that particular firm. But here I am 20 plus years later, and I haven't left. So I did have a short stint of running my own business, which is a juice cleanse company, which I'm sure we'll come on to later, but came back to my knowledge base, my skill set in financial planning, and now I'm at St James's Place.
Brilliant. Well, thank you for that. I think it's really interesting that as I say, we've done quite a lot of these now, and it's for some people actually they start something, they then transition or they take a career break, as obviously that's what your business is about, but you stuck with it. You found your career path. It obviously drives you, it motivates you, it interests you, and and it's really interesting. This is your journey, and that I think is slightly unusual compared with some of the other people I've talked to, which where they've suddenly had a light bulb moment, and so thank you for sharing that. So tell us a bit about the Academy, because I know that St James's Place as a sort of multinational organisation, has lots of services and lots of things to it. But in particular, we want to really shine a spotlight on the Academy today. I think really because although you've helped, literally thousands of people to take that next step, I think a lot of people still don't know about you, don't know what you do, and what services you offer. So this is your chance. Tell us what the Academy is and what it's all about.
Thank you, Sarah. So I think within financial services sector, we're very well known, but for people outside of the financial services sector, we may well be not as well known. And that's because of our business model and how it works. So I'll come on to that in just a second. But we are the largest provider in the UK of face-to-face financial advice. And financial advice helps people, individuals, maybe families or businesses, charities, to manage their wealth effectively and efficiently. And ultimately what we want to do is help be that go-to person for anything financial. Uncover some of the jargon. I know that this can be confusing and scary to some people, so be that friendly person that can answer their questions. But most importantly, help them visualize or plan out what they want to achieve in life and by when, and then help them really understand where they are today. So what does today look like, and what's the difference between where they are today and where they want to get to? And then it's their job to go away and build a plan to make that happen. And so it's a real interesting role. It's a people job. You're helping others and you're building long-term relationships with people. So I think a really enjoyable and rewarding role. In terms of how you build the plan, it can depend on what the person wants to achieve, how complex their circumstances are, but it could include things like protecting what they already have, or saving for something in the future, planning for their retirement, building some trust or inheritance tax planning, making sure things are tax efficient. So there are lots of ways we can help people and make sure that they can achieve their aspirations.
Super. And the Academy itself is, what makes it unique, and why, imagine I'm sitting here thinking, okay, look, I mean, I am from financial services originally, but, maybe I'm not. Maybe I was a teacher, maybe all sorts of walks of life. What do I need to know about the Academy that would make, that actually I'd like to go through the application process and do it? What does it give me?
Yeah, absolutely. So let me give you a tiny bit of background about St James's Place as a business, and it will explain my comment earlier around people outside of the industry not necessarily knowing our brand. So as a business, we're a FTSE 100 company. We have employees who are there to provide lots of support to the people in our partnership who give financial advice. So the partnership is made up of 2,500 individual businesses across the UK. Now, those businesses aren't called St James's Place Wealth Management. They might be called, my surname is Foottit, Foottit Wealth Management, and then it might say underneath there's a tagline, Partner Practice or St James's Place Wealth Management. So that's why on the street, the average financial advisory firm isn't called, of those 2,500 businesses, they're not called St James's Place, which is why maybe we're not a well-known brand. But behind the scenes of all those individual businesses, we're taking care of all the research and due diligence on all of the products that they recommend, all the fund managers that they recommend. We'll help them with their marketing strategy, with their technology, with their HR, everything that business needs to run safely, securely, efficiently, and to grow. St James's Place takes care of for them. So with our academy, we're enabling people to come train, get industry standard qualifications in a short period of time. That training is virtual, so it's a 6-month process, so partially qualifications and then partially skills and everything else you need to know to do the job. The fact that the training is virtual now as a result of COVID means that we can reach further and wider anybody that wants to become a financial planner without any geographical constraints. So we're super excited having relaunched the Academy in a virtual world this year, that we can bring more people on board and be more accessible to them. We then support people for 18 months in the role. So if you're thinking, well, how on earth do I give advice for the first time? We'll be there to hold your hand. We'll be observing you in your meetings, keeping you safe, giving you feedback, and making sure your hand is held until you're signed off as a competent advisor. So it's a blueprint to follow, really. And I think if anybody's thinking about taking a step into entrepreneurship, they have a passion for people and helping others and an interest in all financial matters, then this could be a really good fit. And it's like starting a business, but with the backing of a FTSE 100 company in terms of some financials, but also in terms of that support, that expertise, mentorship. And I think that's what makes us unique.
There's so many interesting things in that, isn't it? And when I was sort of step back and think about the Academy, it is exactly that. You get that opportunity to take control, because actually that's something that, again, if you've taken some sort of career break or you already had an existing career path, you do want that control over your life and your destiny, and to feel that, you know, the effort and the direction you take it in will make that difference to you and your, you know, your security of your own future and your family, and to achieve the lifestyle that you want.
Mm-hmm.
But I think, you know, the other things as well, it's that professional qualification, which, you know, should not be underestimated. You know, the fact that you can apply, you know, there's no charge to go through the academy. You know, you've just got to, you know, apply and get through the process, which of course is, you know, those are hurdles in themselves. But the fact that there is this opportunity to get a professional qualification and to be able to run your own business, and as you say, with the backing of a FTSE 100, with, you know, all those, you know, and again, having run my own business now, you know, for over 6 years, actually, that again shouldn't be underestimated. Just having that sort of that backing, that resource, and you know, bluntly, that support. It's that whole sort of, you know, support network. I think is really important. So. So I think it's really interesting, you know, what you're doing, and as far as we can see, you know, makes you unique in that sphere. So so Gee, you know, you were talking about the pandemic. We've all had to adapt. You know, show me. You know, I don't think there's anybody that hasn't had to sort of, you know, do something different. I mean, we've obviously gone virtual. You have. I mean, it's. I guess again, you know, how have you adapted? How has that opened up the opportunity to potential returners into the academy?
Definitely. So historically, our academy program was taught in person in a classroom effectively, and we had 4 academy locations across the UK. Now, by being virtual, it means that in one cohort, we could have somebody dialing in from Scotland and somebody dialing in from Cornwall, and it doesn't matter. They're going to get to know each other. They're all going to learn the same things. So we still keep cohorts to 20 people at a time so that they get to know each other and it's interactive. When you're on those calls together, you know, you want to have the opportunity to ask questions. And if the audience is too big, then you lose that personal touch. Awesome. So we do keep each cohort to 20 people. But it's been great. So the learning online, in terms of an exam perspective, we've shifted to an online portal where people can log in, get all their resources there. And so far, we've had 100% success rate on all of the exams. And also from the people that launched their businesses at the start of lockdown and since, in terms of comparing them to people who had the opportunity to meet with clients face to face all the way through their academy training and beyond, we haven't seen a dip in performance in terms of our academy graduates. So that's a positive. And it's because the whole world had to pivot and had to do business like this, do things virtually, hop on Zoom, get comfortable using a link from a trusted source. And SJP as a business decided prior to COVID to have a roughly 3-year strategy to digitalize things a little bit more than they were pre-COVID. That 3-year plan happened over a 3-month period from March last year. And our 3-year plan was really around educating our clients. If you think about our client base, they're every age, but we've certainly got lots of clients who would be in their 90s, their 80s, their 70s, and sometimes people in their 60s need help with technical advancements. But now all of those people have had a Zoom with their family. They've done a family quiz, you know, at the start of lockdown, and that education piece just became a lot faster and easier to implement. And also what's been positive, as well as seeing clients through Zoom, that makes your day much more efficient because you're not traveling, but also in terms of signing documentation, those things have advanced too. So a client can sign their document digitally, which means we can process the forms much faster. So it's been a positive. It means we can work more efficiently. The client doesn't have to take a day off to come and see us or a week to go and see them, and we can fit much more into our day.
And I think, again, really interestingly, for the person who might be considering the returner program, is that, you know, perhaps historically, if they had known about you or they've come across you, they think this might be London-centric academy, or I know you've got centres in Newbury and I think in Solihull as well. But, you know, they think actually, like, well, I don't live anywhere near there. So, you know, so, okay, fine, sounds great, but actually that's kind of cutting me out. And I think that the messaging coming from you, you've actually, again, it's one of the positives of the pandemic, which, you know, this is now, you know, as we begin to move on from it, is actually to recognise that there is that regionalisation, that actually it doesn't matter geographically where you are. So as you say, you could be doing this in Cornwall, you could be doing this in Scotland, you could be doing it in the Outer Hebrides. It doesn't really matter. And so I think, you know, it's expanding the opportunity, just as online has expanded the opportunity for so many businesses. And I think that trend is something that we have picked up on in, you know, all of our in conversation with series. So, yeah, I think that's really exciting for anyone that's, you know, that's listening to this. That, You don't need to be a London-based person. I think the other thing that's also really important to reinforce, that you don't need that background in financial services, that you know you could
Absolutely,
come
I'm really
from.
pleased for that, Sarah. So we've been with the longest running academy of its kind. So we've been running since 2012. We've had 500 people already graduate the program, and we've got over 500 people in the program as we stand there at some point in their journey. And 60% of all of those people come from a non-financial services background. The 40% that don't necessarily have any experience in what it is that we do. They might have worked in a bank or in a building society before, and they don't have the skills and the experience prior to coming into the academy of giving advice. So if you're sitting here watching thinking, oh, this doesn't apply to me, because think again. We've got dairy farmers, we've got a male model in the academy we've had before, we've got ex-armed forces, ex-sports professionals. So on paper, it doesn't look like a CV that would correlate, or a career transition that looks obvious. But for us, the attributes of those people are what's important. So if you think about a sports person, they know that the dedication that they have and the commitment each day will equal a result in the future. Their resilience, all of those things are really important in business. So when we're meeting with people, it's much more about you as a person, the transferable skills that you bring, and there are no prerequisites that you need to have in terms of exams or experience to come and have a conversation with us and join the academy.
And I think that is a really important message, and it ties in with several things. What I think the government and what society is trying to do in terms of, we're living longer, therefore our working lives are extending, and so we need to reskill, we need to invest in ourselves, and and I think you're giving that opportunity. But also it really helped the club. It really resonates with our messaging, where we are helping people through transition points in their life. And when you go through a transition point, it's really interesting, when you become a parent, or you change career, or you want to go back to work. These are quite daunting moments. And when you sort of get to that point of, I want to do this, but how do I have the confidence? Do I have the skills? And all those other things that we know that can sort of go through our mind, is actually you need to turn to somewhere that offers you trusted resource, and that is absolutely what we're all about. So so we know there's lots of accomplished, very capable women, especially in our membership, who are thinking about taking those next steps, but it's really daunting. So what advice do you have for them about how do you just take that first baby step forward?
Really good question, Sarah. And before I jump into that detail, I'm just going to go back to that virtual training for a second, particularly for women, being that most of your audience, not all, I know, because I was speaking to gentlemen from your audience before, the majority of them are female and may well have caring responsibilities for family, etc. And that virtual training means there's no travel. It's much more flexible to fit around somebody's day and the other things that are important to them. So if you are one of those people thinking about restarting a career, or even just having a career change from what you're doing right now, what would I recommend? I would firstly recommend utilising the resources that you have around you. So as an example, Sarah's really helpful club has unlimited resources there for you to come and utilise. Speak to people within Sarah's group, speak to Sarah, speak to myself, ask questions, and just research what it is you're looking to do. Don't be afraid to ask for help. Asking for help is really important, and it might spur you on to actually. Action is the thing that's going to make the difference. It's going to move you forward. It's going to give you confidence as you move forward step by step. So use the resources around you. Certainly have a look at your professional profile. Is your LinkedIn profile up to date? Have you updated your CV lately? Have a think about those two things. And again, ask for help if you haven't done those recently or a bit worried about it. If you're looking at the academy in particular, there are lots of online resources for you. Before you even have a conversation with myself or one of my colleagues, you can visit our website. There are lots of videos to watch there. There's events listed on that page. You can come to a virtual open evening and listen to somebody that's been through the academy themselves, and they can tell you their journey and their story and what it was like for them. So just actively look at what it is you want to do, what's available for free online, and who do I know that I can speak to about this, so that I can start taking some steps forwards.
Really important. And I think, again, thank you for that, is that actually virtual is quite helpful in this sense, because as you say, we've all in our personal lives, I think now, got pretty comfortable with the whole Zoom and whatever sort of virtual platform we're on. but actually it allows you to just do that research slightly under the radar, as it were, build those little baby steps of confidence before you have to, sort of project yourself forward. And I think that is, I think probably helping people, particularly with that. So thank you for that. And I love that. Action is the thing that makes a difference. Absolutely. It's got to have a go. Got to, take that next step. So now I want you to put your entrepreneurship hat on, and because I know that really matters to you. And so, what are some of the questions you think you would recommend someone asks themselves before they start a business?
Yes. Okay, some good questions. So I've written some down. Let me just make sure I don't miss anything here. The first thing I've written down is, do people listen to me and take my advice on things in general? Are people coming to you for an area of expertise that you already have? So you might find that you often get asked a particular question because you've had a career in that area, or it could be that you're interested in something in particular. Is there a demand for your idea? And the way that you need to research that is ask some people about it. So do people want the product or the service that you're thinking of offering? The only way you're going to find out that is to speak to some people. It's all very well imagining that this is a great idea, but actually you need to validate that great idea by speaking to some real people. Do you already, or can you start to think in a commercial way? Because a business isn't a business until it's had its first customer, client, and there's some revenue and turnover coming through the business. So are you able to think in that way? And what do you need to do in order to generate the living and the lifestyle that you're after? What does that look like in numbers? What are all the things that you will need to take care of in running a business? Think about what your personal strengths are and your weaknesses. So it's really important to say to yourself, well, I'm going to be really good at these things, but I'm shocking at those things. And who on earth are you going to ask to help you at those things where you're weak? Because in your business, you're going to have all areas covered. Who can ask for help and advice? And what do I need to research? And the most important thing, again, is the action and creating a time-bound plan for you to do this research and get things done by, so that you feel like you're consistently moving forward, would be my initial advice.
Brilliant. Thank you for that. And so look, we've got a lot of people on board. If you have a question for Gee, whether it's about the academy, whether it's about running a business, some of the advice that she's shared, do just put the comment into the chat. I always say this to, when we run our webinars, no question is too small. No question is sort of too silly, as it were. That actually, I bet you everyone else will be pleased that you've asked that question when you've done it. And it's it's a sort of collective sigh of relief. I was dying to ask that. I just didn't quite couldn't quite sort of phrase it right, or couldn't quite sort of get it out, as it were. Okay, so really interesting. So so I guess roll forward for someone who has launched their business. What do you think is the hardest part? What do you see as the challenges?
So if I revert back to when I launched my own business, I started a juice cleanse business, and it started.
Tell us more about it.
It started to be it was a physical business. I used to make the juices and deliver the juices. And then I realized if I wanted to continue forward on that track, I would have needed to invest in a professional kitchen and cold deliveries further afield than me driving it round to somebody's house. I would have needed to scale. And then I had to make a choice to say, well, I don't want to do that right now. I don't have the money to do that. So I turned it into a virtual online business. But the things I didn't think about in a long-term capacity were really important. So I want you to think about them now. So financials. If you're going to start any business, how are you going to fund and support the business in terms of cash flow, but also yourself? Do you have enough savings? Are you willing to use those savings for this? What happens if they all get used and the business doesn't launch and it's not getting you to where you want to be? What's your backup plan, or plan B maybe? Finding the right advisors and mentors. So again, when I was in my business, I invested in certain coaches, etc. And what's difficult is finding the right exact person for you in your sector, in your, like I said, think about your strengths and weaknesses and what experts do you need to onboard to help you develop. Getting your first clients, focusing your time on what matters, your mindset, the activities that you're doing day to day. Is that going to equal your first customers or your first clients? making sure you're resilient. Most people do have a really high degree of resilience if they sit and think about the things they've been through in life and how they've overcome things. But just even doing that as an exercise will give you confidence that should the worst happen or you have a tough day, you can get out of bed and start all over again the next day. So speak to people you know. Are they interested in your products? These are the things that during the selection process at SJP, we mentioned earlier, there's no money to do our program, but there is a selection process. And our selection process is designed to help you do all of these things that I'm discussing. So research your market first. Who are your first clients going to be? Have you thought about how you're going to financially support yourself through this career transition? What's that timeline look like? All of those things are really important, so you can go in and focus then on your business with confidence, knowing that you've thought of those things and those things are in place for you.
That is such important advice, because it's real, it's pragmatic, and running a business, whilst it's can be hugely rewarding and uplifting, is really hard work. And so to have that sort of pragmatism and that sense of realism, I think is incredibly important. And as you say, up front, because actually putting those foundations, putting those building blocks in place means A, much more likely to succeed, but B, you're much more likely to be able to ride those ups and downs as well. And I think those ups and downs get bigger. Those troughs and peaks get bigger as mistakes get bigger as well. So now one other question on that is, well, you've talked about the challenges, but what about the rewards? What about what's the positives of running your own business?
Absolutely. So we've already touched upon a couple of them. So I think complete autonomy over your life ultimately and what it is you want to achieve. So flexibility, the times of day that you work, where you work, geographically, who you work with as well. You can pick your own clients and only work with people that you have a connection with. There are so many benefits. And then thinking about what your own personal future aspirations are, using your business as one of the tools to help you to get there. So in effect, you're using your business as your own financial plan, if you like. And one of the exciting things about the St James's Place opportunity is when you start a business with us, you do have autonomy, although you have our support, but you have control over the capital value that you're building within your business if you start your own business here. And at retirement, your client book is actually worth a capital value, and you can sell that client book on to another advisor in St James's Place when you retire. So often what's overthought when somebody starts a business is the exit strategy. What happens when I want to sell this business? And the most difficult things when you're trying to sell a business is trying to align things at the right time for you. That's probably the biggest challenge. You then got to find somebody to buy it that you trust, with your beloved clients that you've been working with for many, many years. And you've got to agree a fair price. So those are probably going to be the biggest challenges. At SJP, all of those are pre-thought of and pre-planned for you. All you need to do is have a conversation with us and say, I'm thinking of retiring in a couple of years' time, and we'll be there helping you to find another advisor, geographical fit, personality fit. We've got an actuary in head office who's going to value the business, and we'll facilitate the loan function for the person buying it. So everything can happen really quickly. And I think that's probably the most common overthought thing when somebody's starting a business, whether it's in financial services or anything else. What's my exit strategy? So that's exciting.
I think that is really, really important advice, because you're absolutely right. A lot of the focus is about, the light bulb moment, the idea generation. Will it work? The hard slog of sort of getting this to into a position of profitability, but very little attention to actually, is it in the right structure in order to be sold or exited, as you say. And again, I think that is incredibly important when you're also sort of focusing on one's financial security as well. So thank you for sharing that. We've taken up a lot of your time. I mean, you've shared so much. It's so interesting talking to you. And I know we've talked so much in the past, but it's just great to have this chat. And as I said, we're going to share this on our IGTV channel. We're going to share this on LinkedIn. We'll put this on our YouTube channel. So if you've enjoyed this, anyone that's watching this, please be sure to share it onwards, because I think there's some really, really important lessons here, whether it's the academy you're drawn to, whether you're starting a business, or as Gee was talking about, actually that exiting process, I think is, again, something that's really, I think warrants sort of greater sort of exploration. So my last question for you is, look, signs that the economy is really picking up. The macro picture, the economy is really looking quite positive, even though, of course, we've had a setback from the, sort of announced by the Prime Minister earlier this week. But, for anyone that is looking to return back to work, whether it's men, female, what's your best advice about how to be best prepared and prepared for this new world? It's a new workplace that we're going into. So, tell us from your lens how you would advise someone.
Definitely be prepared for virtual meetings, and don't be afraid of them, and just treat them like they are a normal meeting. So dress appropriately as you would if you were going somewhere to meet somebody in person, and come along prepared as well. So speak to everybody, have informal conversations, build your knowledge and awareness around the thing that you're looking to get into. And as we said before, Sarah, you've asked people to ask us some questions, whether you're going to ask the questions live or on the chat afterwards. Asking questions is really important. Or if you want to send us a direct message and you don't want to do it in public, that's no problem, please do. But when somebody comes to a meeting with me and they come with a list of loads of questions to ask me, that makes me super happy, because it means they're genuinely interested and they've done the research, and I'm happy to answer them. So do your research, come with a load of questions to ask, but most important of all is taking action. So book that meeting with that person that you've been a little bit worried or scared about doing. They will be delighted to come and have a conversation with you. So ask for help and take action would be my advice. Brilliant.
I love that. Thank you so much. Thank you for joining me. Thank you for taking time out of your busy day. For me, I've just been writing down, as ever, so many comments, and we'll share, some of this afterwards in, when we post this on IGTV. But for me, Gee, it's, do your research. Don't be afraid to ask for help. Throughout your life, don't be afraid to ask for help, and just be bold. Take that first step. Thank you very much for joining me, and thank you everyone else.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye bye.